AM 1060 WMEL. The views expressed on the following program are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and are not necessarily those of WMEL staff, management, or advertisers.
This is Steckler, folks, your host for Helping Seniors, the radio arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard County. I just want to warn you today that we may have a half-hour show. We're not sure yet. There's a launch scheduled out at the Cape. We're not sure exactly what's going to happen with the weather, but if we have to make it a half-hour show, Dr. Sheldon and I will make it a half-hour show. And if we can do an hour, we'll do an hour. So we'll just play by ear. We're good at playing by ear, right, Lee?
You know, I don't know if I can speak for a half an hour, Joe. I think we just have to cancel the launch, and I'm going to have to just do a monologue for the other half.
Yeah, well, I don't think our panel operator will let me do that.
Wait a minute. The boss is running the board today. Look at this.
Oh, yeah, Vince is running the board. Okay.
No, John's running the board. Look at John.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry. It's so dark in there, I couldn't tell John the silhouette. Okay. Anyway, we'll play it by ear, right, John?
Exactly right.
Okay. Folks, you know, the purpose of helping seniors is to inform, educate, and connect seniors and those who care for seniors with resources to help them age with dignity. And just to show you that there's so much that plays into what we do. First of all, our sponsors. And let me just think about, I'm going to name a few sponsors for the first part of the show. Kindred at Home. That's a long-term care hospital across from the airport downtown. Not very many people know about it. It's different from what Holmes, Wusthof, and Parrish do. They take care of people in long-term care. They get them well. I'm not saying they'll do that at the big hospitals, but the big hospitals...
No, there's a purpose for the big hospitals. The big hospitals are to take care of immediate needs, and then when you need long-term care, you go someplace else. Not like it used to be.
That's right.
You don't stay in the hospital for 8 weeks now. You get your particular service done that you need at the hospital. You get stabilized, and then you go to a long-term place to recover.
Exactly like Kindred does.
Yeah.
And but the other people include the Eye Institute, Dr. Sheldon, my panelist for today, Bill Johnson, elder law attorney. This radio station has been broadcasting shows about the elderly since 1993.
That's
folks.
before I was elderly.
That's a long time.
Yes.
That's a long time. But it shows interest. 11 Home Care, Wusthof Hospital System, Ebony News Today, Riverside Senior Resort, and Organized Creative Designs, which is like an estate sales place. In a way, what Carla does is help people downsize so they can fit into smaller living quarters. These are all parts of aging with dignity. And folks, I was telling Dr. Sheldon before we started the show, Terry and I were privileged to be included in a couple's 60th wedding anniversary celebration recently. And while we were there, another fellow that graduated several years after I did at the Naval Academy, who's followed all our work here in Brevard County, our radio, TV, writing in the newspapers, our columns, our magazines, newsletters, our raffles, all this stuff. He said, Joe, why don't you write an article for Shipmate, our Naval Academy magazine? It goes out to 60,000 people. And I said, I don't think they'd want to know that. He said, I'm one of the writers. He said, I want to know that. So he said, why don't you put something together and let me be the judge of whether or not I can get it in Shipmate. So I got a challenge now, folks, to write an article that might appeal to 60,000 graduates of the United States Naval Academy.
So what are you going to write?
I'm going to write, Lee, about how my background at the Naval Academy and what I did in the military for 30 years, actually 38 total years, and then what I've done for 29 civilian years here in Brevard County. I've tried to put all that together and try to help my fellow shipmates at the Naval Academy understand how many of them have second career skills that when they're in their 60s, 65, they might just want to retire and do nothing. Well, instead of doing nothing, get involved with a nonprofit organization and you know, you and I have talked about this a long time. And we talked about it when you used to do your radio show, and we talked about it on our television shows. We talk about dentists. We talked about periodontistry. We talk about all this stuff. But we also talk about how what we do through the media realm can help fill a void in so many people's lives. I was telling Dr. Sheldon before the show, folks, that if I didn't do what I do, what difference would that make in a greater order in the scheme of our living our lives? Some people wouldn't get information. Some people would get hurt. But I like to think, Lee, that every person that we can help, every person that we can get information to, every person that is a veteran, especially, that is, and there are something like 67,000 veterans in Brevard County, and we have roughly 180,000 people that are touched by the Office of Veterans Affairs in Brevard County. How many of those people don't know about benefits that are available? And right away, many of you listeners will say, what the hell is Joe talking about? All veterans know about everything they're entitled to. That's not true.
No, it's not true.
It's not true. Lee, I was at a...
But let me go back for a second, because I don't want to lose that point. And the point is this. Groups do not make decisions. Groups are not the ones who decide to wade through all the crap in order to get to what the truth is. It's one individual, and you think back in your lives, I'm talking about you, Joe, and I'm talking about everybody who's listening to us right now, that you know that there's a single individual, and you know, everybody knows one, or maybe more than one, that was able to cut through all of the crap and get to the truth of the matter and had the intention to do it and actually accomplish the goal. I mean, that's what you do, Joe. That's what you do every single day. It is one person who makes a difference. So that if you're writing an article for the Naval Academy newsletter, essentially each of these gentlemen and ladies are being trained to be leaders within the military, and that leadership role can be accomplished in the military, can be accomplished outside the military after they've completed their careers, and be completed at any time. And any one of us who's listening to this program right now, you have the wherewithal to do something, and do something good, and to lead. Whether it's small or whether it's big, you have the opportunity of changing your life and changing the lives of others.
I guess I've always thought if you can help one person do something better or help them in some way, whatever effort you put into is worth it.
It is. And frankly, if you're helping one, you can help more than one.
Yeah,
and you're going to help more than one. You may be only helping one, but what happens, even the example you set can be enough to change the course of something negative that's occurring in somebody's life or in your life right now.
Well, let's go back and look in your own case. For so many years, you wrote sometimes two, most often one article a month for Florida Today newspaper about dentistry. But you covered so many different aspects of living in those dentistry articles. You talked about smiles. You talked about white teeth. You talked about...
we talked about iodine. We talked about magnesium. We talked about a lot of different things.
But the point was, at one point then you realized you had put together enough information that you could bind it together into a book, and you called that book The Ultimate Mouth Manual, Edition 1.
Correct.
And then you said, gee, it's time for Edition 2.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, periodontal care is so important to everybody, but how many people really, really think they can afford it? How many people can really say, I want somebody to get down with a pick and tear my gums all apart so my teeth feel better?
You make it sound so bad.
And that's, but
it isn't that way, folks. Don't listen to him.
I know.
You were doing so well until you got to that sentence, Joe.
I know. But all those things have a purpose. Dental care, just like medical body care, foot care, pediatric care, you name any kind of care, they're all important to putting together a good way to live easily, safely, and with a heck of a lot of peace of mind, Lee.
That's true. It's true. And by the way, you all have to learn how to be consumers of that care. to make sure that the direction that the doctor is taking you in is the direction that you want to go in. So there's a certain responsibility on the patient side to be able to determine that as well. Gone is the day where we say, well, whatever the doctor says, I should do it.
We need to ask more questions.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. But folks, before we get any further into the show, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Sheldon, and but I also, when I sent him a note on what we were going to do for the show today, I said we'd include Eleanor too.
Yeah.
Because you tell the story. 2 and 6 days, that's not bad.
That's right. Our son our son Matthew, the one that you know, the one who's a dentist in our practice, he and Jennifer had a beautiful baby boy on June 1st. And 6 days later, our son Daniel, who's out, and his wife Alyssa, who is out in Portland, Oregon, had another beautiful boy who we're going to be able to see for the first time on Sunday out in Portland, Oregon. So it's been quite a week for us.
So how many grandchildren does that give you?
That's 4.
4?
Yeah, and what's interesting is when the first 2 were born, they were born within 3 weeks of each other, and now the second 2 are born within 6 days of each other. So we're multiplying grandchildren, even. We go from 2 to 4. There was a very short time for 1, a very short time for 3. We don't know what's happening in the future, but right now we're very happy, and the kids and moms and everybody are doing really, really well. Well,
wait till you get 7 or 8 great grandchildren.
I can wait.
No, you can't. No, you can't. I always have to stop and think how we have. I think it's 7. But, we joke a lot. We talk a lot of things on this radio show. But, I don't want to skip over the importance of what that I attach to what you and I have done with our radio shows, our television shows, and our written word through Florida Today, Aldea Today,
Hometown News.
Hometown News. It's all so important, and I think it's also. And then when you saw what you've always known what you could do with the television media part of it, but you've now expanded that, and I think it's really important because. I didn't intend to talk about it, but this is the way the show goes. People need to know that just plain old ordinary dentists, periodontists in their hometown, have developed a program for teaching other periodontists how to do a better job of selling their services across the United States.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing.
Yeah, that's my labor of love right now. We started an organization called the American Association of Independent Periodontists. We just celebrated our 2nd anniversary. We just gave a webinar last night to our members, and we do webinars twice a month, so people can tune in from all over the country to talk about how they can better deliver their services. And we do it both from a business perspective and as well as from a treatment planning perspective. We together look at X-rays and models and photographs to talk about what we can do to help a patient. It's amazing what you can do with the internet, because everything you can see now on my computer screen is something we can broadcast worldwide if we want to. And we just added that treatment planning component. So now we are, as I said, showing X-rays and photographs and measurements and all the things that we look at, and everybody has the opportunity to look at and participate in that learning process. It is a tremendous amount of fun, and Daniel and I are having a great time doing it.
Yeah, but it's a feeling of being able to expand something good. For a long time, I simply am not that well. I know a lot about the radio, the television. There's a lot you can always learn. We learned that we just passed over something on our website for our helping seniors of Brevard.org, our website folks, and we learned that we failed to put a key on there for getting people to ask for our newsletter. And since we put the key on there, we've been bombarded with people wanting to know more about what we're doing here. So what's happening now is something that I wanted to see happen 20 years ago when I was a director over at the Alzheimer's program. We tried to start a national interfaith movement across the United States where we could link different cities together so that people in one city could have an organization they could talk to in another city that would help point them in the right direction for care.
Yeah.
That is now happening through helping seniors. And it's happening through one person, and that's mostly through Kay Kaiser, who is our information specialist. These calls are starting to come in. They come in from all over the country. And, well, she's not busy answering the phone daily, one call after the other. That's not what I'm trying to get at. What I'm getting at is that we have set the foundation for an info program that this radio station, that our television shows, and that all our printed media and all our sponsors are starting to see how they can be involved in expanding what's happening in Brevard County, Florida. Because, let's say, we opened up these, like the new beachside living facilities on beachside assisted living. We're going to do a show over there next week at the grand opening. They asked us to bring our raffle car over there. But what's important is that we'll shoot some footage of the car. We'll put it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and that will promote the sale of the car tickets to help us raise money to fund all our programs. But it also starts to make average people realize that the government simply cannot, will not, and does not intend to pay for all our care. I just picked up something off the national website for the National Education Elder Law Attorneys, and the state of Kansas is cutting out a program because they've got a $156 million shortfall. $156 million. That's a lot of money. But when you talk about senior care, that's not a hell of a lot of money for a state like the size of Kansas. But they're going to cut out certain Medicaid programs because they've got to reduce their budget. So what I'm starting to want to preach to the choir about is that all of us start better taking a better read on what we're seeing on that television set, what we're getting on our internet screens, and we better start paying attention, Lee.
I think so. We tend to, and I'm not being political here, and you may not like exactly what I have to say, but there are sometimes when we think that it may be best to let our level of responsibility drop, that in fact somebody will take care of us, somebody will make decisions for us. Or we get so curious because we're so lonely that in fact we make decisions that may not be in our best interest. Listen, there are government agencies and private agencies that are there to support us, and that's good. And frankly, Helping Seniors of Brevard is one of those organizations that's here to help support, at least be able to provide you with resource material. But I don't care what age you are. I don't care whether you're a teenager or whether you're elderly. The more responsibility that you take for yourself, the better you can control your life. So understand there are consequences, hopefully good consequences, to every decision that we make. But sometimes there are bad consequences. If we can be responsible for both, we can learn from those. And I don't care what age you are, as I say, you can learn from those and you can do better. There's an awful lot of people out there who are there to do you in, or maybe not to do you in, but are there for greed only. They're only there to get your money and will say anything in order to be able to get that. We used to be able to confine it to certain lower level businesses, but now it's occurring all over. One good reason to be able to communicate with others about an individual is that you can hear from that individual how that person is done. So, for example, if you're seeing a doctor, or you're about to see a doctor, there's nothing wrong with asking that doctor's receptionist to see whether you might be able to call a few other patients to get an idea as to how that doctor is done with those patients. Same with the dentist, same with the chiropractor, and same for any health profession. You can start to talk with people. You can start to network and get an idea. Maybe that person isn't greedy, but maybe that person isn't the right person for you.
Yeah, but when you talk about information, conversely, it can work the other way. And this is something you and I were talking about before the show, that people want to be needed so badly. They want to have financial viability. They want to be able to take care of themselves so bad to the extent that they open up this dumb stuff on the internet. And I've been watching even more closely, and I read all this stuff about the scams, and I look at the misspelled words when people are telling me that they get money and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Folks, if you get somebody from the IRS sending you something on the internet, please don't pay attention to it.
Don't even open it.
IRS,
Because, by the way, if you open it and then you click on something once you open it, then you have the opportunity of your computer becoming infected. So I mean, just don't open it. If you don't know who it's from, don't look at a solicitation. Don't look at an award. Don't look at you have won something and open it up. Just discard that email.
Yeah, if you get something like that, shut it off. Just don't pay attention to it at all. And folks, if John will make a decision during the break as what we're going to do as second part of the show, if we're going to do a second part of the show, stay with us. Stay with us. You're either going to be for a Cape lunch or you're going to hear Lee and me talk a little bit more. So stay with us. We're going to take a mid-show break right now.
AM 1060 WMEL.
This is Joe Steckler, folks, back live with the second half of Helping Seniors, the radio arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard.org. That's our website. Our phone number to reach Kay Kaiser at the office is 473-7770. And I hope you will call her because she can help get you pointed in the right direction with a kind of a care problem. We also appreciate your help, and we'll be hearing more about us on the radio station. We're getting ready to launch the raffle of a 1992 Jaguar. It's only got 38,000 miles on it. Ruby red. It's absolutely gorgeous inside and outside. It's a V12. It's got the long hood on the front end. It's fun to drive it, and it was owned by a former Air Force colonel and his wife, and donated. That's right, folks. Donated without any strings. Gave the car to us to help seniors.
Nice looking car. Let me tell you, I haven't seen it in person, but Kerry showed me the videos of what he's done, the promotional videos.
Uh-huh.
This is a classy car, folks.
Yeah, it really is. It really is nice. But it's it. Okay, folks.
And everything's original on it. What? Original paint, original carpeting, original everything, and it's gorgeous.
Everything is original in the car except for 3 sections of leather on the seat. If you get a sports car like that, when you get in and out of the car, you rub the edge of the seat with your body. Just no way you can keep from doing it. Yeah. So we made a decision to replace those 3 pieces of leather with replacement leather. It very closely matches it, and it's really outside of that. Yes, this original carpet, everything. It's clean as a whistle. There's no blemishes on the car, and I get a big kick out of driving it. And I can stand there and look down on the top of that car. It's not that big.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power there. There's a lot of power. It's V12 engine. But folks, the second part of the show, we want to talk about some topics that are close to what Lee has talked about for many, many, many years, and it goes, I think, beyond the realm of being a dentist. It's being a person who has got a medical background. He happens to be a periodontist, but he's also involved in so many other facts of living. And I think that one of the things that we want to talk about was relating the importance to the advancement of good dental practices through the importance of good nutrition, and how junk food destroys building our basis for sound and healthy, or our sound and healthy mouthly. So I just ask you to talk to our listeners about that for a couple minutes.
As a matter of fact, it's very interesting that I've been asked now to speak to the American Academy of Periodontology in the about the introduction of the wellness model into the periodontal practice. So this is the first time they've ever done this, which is good for the organization, of course, good for everybody. That in fact, we're not just talking about cutting gums like Joe often speaks about. We are talking, and in fact, we don't cut gums very much at all anymore.
You cut my gums, but they heal nicely, and I'm very happy with the cuts you put on.
Good. Were the cuts straight or were they jagged?
Hell, I can't see. I can't see him.
Come on.
I can't see him.
So anyway,
My teeth feel good, though.
Listen, the gums are attached to the rest of the
You're
body,
right.
and the rest of the body needs to heal, and the only way it does heal is if we give it good fuel. And frankly, if it comes in a can or a box and it's been chewed up by a machine before it gets to you, it doesn't have very much nutrition, does it? In fact, the can or the box or the processing machine probably got more nutrition than you're getting out of something like that. You know, we find, I understand that in some cases it may be a little bit easier to open up the can and the box. But if you're opening up the can and the box and you're eating that, then you're creating some problems in your body. I mean, if you get bad nutrition, your body becomes inflamed. If your body becomes inflamed, you're more prone to cancer, heart disease, liver disease, kidney disease, brain disease, whatever disease you're talking about, you're more prone to getting it. When I talk with my patients, one way to give them an idea is when you go to the local supermarket, go to the outside of the aisles. Don't go down the center aisles. Those are the processed foods. If you go to the periphery, that's where you get the fresh meat, the fresh fish, the fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. That's what we need to be using. That's what we need to be cooking. I do a lot of the cooking at home for us, and I guess you know that maybe I'm a little bit busy. Yet with just a little bit of preparation, and by the way, this preparation you can get from a lot of different people, including Publix itself, will provide you with some education. You can find there are very simple ways of preparing fresh foods that aren't going to take a lot of time and actually going to be pretty simple to do. They'll be tastier and they'll be a lot healthier for you. In our practice, we have Lisa. Lisa Moore is a health coach. And so when we see patients that have significant disease, one of the questions we ask them is, what are you eating and how are you eating it? And for many of our patients, they then can go to Lisa and spend some time with Lisa on health coaching. That means they're spending an hour a week with Lisa, and Lisa gives them a little bit of education, kind of gets into their habits and maybe why they're in the habits they're in, and then Lisa can bring them gradually from what they're doing that may be bad for their health, including bad for their gums and bad for their teeth, to a point where it's good for them. And I can't tell you the number of people who come through that program that come into the office, let's say depressed, because depression is part of the problems of the elderly. And part of depression is also not taking care of your mouth. They come in depressed and leave after 4 weeks with Lisa. Sometimes they renew and they want to do another 4 weeks with Lisa, that are feeling better, are looking better, and they're not depressed anymore. A lot of influences when you're eating poorly, and a lot of bad influences, a lot of good influences when you eat well.
I believe that a lot, because I think one of the questions that you and I were going to talk about today was the fact that as we get older and as we lose one of our partners, there's a tendency for the remaining spouse to forget that there is a skillet and that there's a colander that you can put under and wash fresh vegetables off. And I know, recently, Terry fixed a meal that I think it's sort of harkens right to what you're talking about. It was a salad, a large salad of fresh spinach with fresh mushrooms, sliced Roma tomatoes, and feta cheese.
Yep.
And for those of you that like to shop at Walmart or Sam's, you can go out to Sam's and you can get a huge chunk of feta cheese for $10. I think it's $10.79, But that big hunk of feta cheese can last you a long time. But if you take a simple salad like that and just buy a chicken breast, with boneless chicken breast, and cook them on a skillet top with the sometimes Terry uses olive oil and just to grease the skillet, and then lemon pepper to season the chicken.
Yeah.
And you've done nothing except take fresh chicken, and you've used fresh spinach, tomatoes, mushrooms, and feta cheese, and with a light dressing, and that's healthy eating. And then I know I always catch it when I talk about the meals that I eat that my wife fixes that are good for me to eat, but it's something that as we get older we have to think about, because eating is one of the enjoyments of life that you really can't take away from anybody. And when you do try to take that away, just like try to take the car keys away, try to take away eating a good meal or having a good conversation with somebody, that's, you're denying people things that help them stay healthy.
You're right. And the older you get, the fewer things you can do. Once you give up the tennis swing and then give up the golf swing, what's left? Smiling, chewing, that's about it. And so the teeth become more and more important. And by the way, I'm not doing this as a commercial for myself at all. Thank God we're very, very busy. But it isn't unusual for people in their 80s and even in their 90s to come into our office for dental implants so they can resume the quality of life that they had when they had teeth.
Well, it is important, and I think that there are so many ways. You know, as you lose a partner, as you get older, and you do lose a partner, this is where friendships and things that we used to do in the past can start playing a more important part in our life, and I think that's where the art of practicing good nutrition and trying to and the hardest thing for me, and I can talk about till I'm blue in the face, I know I need to cut back on salt, but trying to cut back on salt and trying to say I want it to taste good, it's hard.
Well, let me give you some good news. The data on cutting back on salt, which has been around with us for 30, 40, or 50 years, the data on that and reducing blood pressure is almost nil. So we might think we have to cut back on salt, but it turns out it doesn't make very much difference in your blood pressure at all.
But
does that make you feel any better?
It makes me feel better, but I also know that...
Now I'm talking about salt from the salt shaker. If you're getting processed foods, that's loaded with sodium. That's a lot. But in terms of making your food taste a little bit better, by using the salt shaker, maybe taking an extra sprinkle or two, that's not going to make much of a difference, if any difference at all.
You use a salt shaker.
Yeah. It's different from opening up a can or a box. That's loaded with stuff.
Okay, Lee, but, the other part is that everybody thinks that we all these diets that we go on as we get older. We go on these high protein diets. We go on the leafy vegetable diet. We go on the starvation diets. We go on all kinds of diets. But if we stick to what you and I have just talked about with small pieces of chicken cooked on a stovetop or barbecued with the right kinds of seasoning, those things can be heated up and are not greasy. These are smart things.
Yeah, and the right kinds of seasoning is very easy. Just buy 6 bottles of something and try it. It's amazing what combinations you can make that will taste really, really good.
What are some of the other things that I know that you're a very strong believer in fresh vegetables, but
Sugar. We're eating way, way, way too much of it. Considering the 1950s, we ate 40 pounds of sugar a year, and now we're eating 210 pounds of sugar a year. The body isn't made for that.
Wait. Are you saying that an average person eats 210 pounds of sugar a year?
Yep.
Where in the heck did you get that statistic? I'd like to know that one.
I read it someplace. I'll give you this. When I wrote an article on this, it was anywhere from 140 to 210 pounds of sugar per year, depending upon which source I looked at. So where do you get sugar? Go to the convenience store and pick up a big Slurpee. Pick up pick up Gatorade. Pick up anything that's in a bottle that you say, well, I've got to drink that. There's a lot of sugar in any one of those bottles. Have a lot of ketchup. There's an awful lot of sugar there. If you look at anything that's in a can or in a box, there's an awful lot of sugar there. You don't have to just eat candy, although there are a lot of people out there who are eating a lot more candy and a lot more cakes than they should be eating. So it's not difficult to pick up that much sugar. What your mother told you to do as far as how you should eat, remember what she said, and you do the same thing.
I remember I was like the little fat guy in the Our Gang series. When I was 12 years old, I weighed 210 pounds.
Yeah.
So I was the classic example of eating too much sugar because my family owned a restaurant, and my idea of apple pie a la mode was to take a dinner plate now, Lee, and put an oversized slug. I'm 12 years old now. To put an oversized slug of apple pie in there and put 5 or 6 scoops of vanilla ice cream on top of it. And that was my idea of apple pie a la mode. For most people, that was a family dessert.
Yeah.
For the whole thing. But, I look back and I think about, we talk about these things on radio. We talk about these things in our television shows. And we talk about all these things. And so it's extremely important that we pay attention. I'll give you the last word, Lee. We got about 35 seconds, then we're going to throw it back to John for an update on the launch.
I think the bottom line is there are things that you can do to take care of yourself, and whether we started the show talking about responsibility, and let's finish the show talking about responsibility
Real quick.
We have the responsibility for our health. We can choose what's good and what's bad, and innately you actually do know what's good and what's bad. When you go to the supermarket, pick out the good things, the fresh things. You're going to be doing a lot better and have a lot fewer doctor visits as a result.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you, listeners, for staying with us for the show today. Now we'll go back to John for an update on the launch site, and I'll see you next week.